Hey everyone, it's your host Marcus Norman of the Gentleman Style Show. And today I have a fantastic guest for you guys. I'm so excited. Today we have Mr. Mike Cobb. He's the co-founder and CEO of his company, ECI Developments. This company has been building and managing communities across Latin America for more than 25 years, from Belize, Nicaragua to Panama and beyond. Mr. Mike has helped thousands, get it, thousands of people explore life and investment opportunities abroad. He's a well-known speaker, writer, author, and thought-provoking leader on international real estate, expatriating living, and alternative investments. And we have this special guest here today sharing some time, sharing the space with us here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And he is helping us break some myths, get inside, a little bit inside his head, and discover the unique thought process and entrepreneurial endeavors on how some of us may be able to establish a plan B, or showing investors how to diversify their currently active portfolio. So, I can't hold this man back any further. Help me welcome to the stage the incredible Mr. Mike Cobb.
Hey. That was a great intro, Marcus. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. It is all you. You are fantastic. You have become my hero today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And I just want to start softball question.
Okay.
Sir, when did you know you had a gift and you made the decision to found and start your company ECI Development? When did you realize, hey, this is the new frontier, and it's overseas. It's overseas. When did it first dawn to you?
Well, I think you've asked me two questions because I have because I have two different answers. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And this is a show that includes faith, and I'll say that I have, ever since I was been little. I don't know what little was, but 8, 9, 10, little, but enough aware, right, that I could sense that I've always felt called. And it was 96 or 97, I can't remember, but somewhere in 96, 97, I was in the computer business, and it was in that moment that I was truly called to my purpose, and the Lord led me to that. So 96, 97, and but to be called overseas, that's a different thing. I'd actually started a small business overseas at that point. I'd started a little mortgage company with a buddy of mine in Belize, but I didn't really see where it was going. I was in the computer business in the Washington, D.C. area. It was going very, very well, and I guess I kind of got bored with the computer business and got excited about the offshore stuff. And so I left the computer business full time in 98, moved into overseas banking, mortgage banking, and then real estate development in 98 full time. But have been working part time since 93 in Belize and throughout the region. But that feeling of being called, and it wasn't until I went international, I'll say that, it wasn't really until I went international that I understood the calling, and I understood my purpose in very, very significant ways. And it's not the we do what we do because this is we have a business, right? We have a business. We do what we do. But at the end of the day, money matters. Family matters more. Community, matters a lot. But in the end, purpose, right? Following our purpose and doing what we're called to do is ultimately our highest purpose. And being in the international sphere has allowed me to, up until today, I don't know what the future holds, but through today anyway, has allowed me to fulfill what I believe is my purpose. And it's incredibly gratifying and satisfying. And I would have to say, I feel incredibly blessed. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. It was a lot to unpack there, Marcus.
It did. It definitely did. Can you help speak to the emotion? Because I think for us, it's an emotional as well as financial decision
Mhm.
to move overseas, invest overseas, because it's unmarked territory. And I think
Yeah.
right, it's new territory. And so we need professionals like you, like your team, to help us navigate not only the financial but the emotional side. Can you speak to some of the emotional costs of leaving your home country and expatriating, whether fully or partially? Can you speak to that side, what it's done for you and people and your customers, your clients?
Yeah, well, there's maybe two parts to that, right? There's the before we go and what happens that people choose to move overseas. What's the motivating factor? What's the motivation? And generally that is emotional, right? I mean, there can be monetary factors, there can be political factors like refugee, things like that. So there are reasons people move overseas, but generally, when someone from the United States is moving overseas, it's a largely emotional motivation. And you asked earlier before we get on if there are any questions. We can talk about why people are expatting or why people are choosing to look overseas, and those generally are very emotional reasons. That's good because emotions motivate us. Emotions get us to where we need to go. But when we don't balance emotion with logic, rationale, and due diligence, is one of my favorite words, we can get into trouble. And that's what my book's about. And I'm going to not talk about that at this moment. I want to move into the second part, which is once we get somewhere, there's a whole new emotional element. And it's commonly called culture shock, right? We hear the words
Yes.
culture shock thrown around a lot. It can be many different things for different people, but minor to moderate to significant level of general uncomfortableness with how we feel about where we go or where we end up. And so I think you've got the emotion on the front end, you've got the emotion on the back end, and down into both or either of those, Marcus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you give us some of that? I want to stay here for one more minute.
Yeah,
What's a
sure.
what's a common cultural shock or emotion that people feel? Is it fear? Is it are people leaving their home country to expatriate because of anger with their current political climate or current financial climate, right? I'm not
Right.
making enough money. I'm not
Yep.
making the kind of money that I feel that my family deserves. What is the common emotion that you typically hear people wanting to expatriate?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Right in and around election times, right before an election, right after an election, whether a Democrat gets elected or a Republican gets elected, the other party tends to be emotionally motivated to maybe make a move, or at least do the research. Not very many actually move, but some do, right? And so the political motivations tend to be very emotional, philosophical, and deep seated. Whereas in between the elections, maybe for the maybe 3 years, so we're coming up. Like I think the high levels of emotion from the Trump election are winding down. They're still there, but they're not as intense. And so what we start to see is we start to see a transition to more financial. And you mentioned that the economic elements, which still can be very emotional, they can be panic producing, right? Oh my goodness, how am I going to survive on $1,500, $1,800 a month Social Security payment? Like that's a real question, and the anxiety or angst that produces in people is real. The nice thing about moving overseas is, depending on where you go, of course, there are countries where 15, 1,800, $2,000 a month actually can provide a really, really nice lifestyle. I lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. Nicaragua was one of the countries where, $1,500 a month is pretty good. I mean, you can live really, really well for $1,500 a month. And Panama too. Panama is another country where that kind of 15, 1,800. Costa Rica is a little bit more expensive. Belize is a little more expensive. Obviously, Europe's a lot more expensive. But depending on why you're leaving, if it's economically driven, moving somewhere where you can live on 15, $1,800 a month is it really delivers peace of mind, right? It delivers the opposite of that anxiety that people have. It's really the fear of unknown, right? Like, how am I going to live on this amount of money? When we go overseas, we can. But now we flip over to the other side and you ask about culture shock, right? You know, and most people, I would say, get the big things right. Oh, you know, it's going to be a different language. The food's going to be different. Cultural norms are going to be different, right? And we can kind of handle the big stuff because we're mentally prepared for that. But what tends to get people on the culture shock side of things are the ankle biters. It's the 50 little things that just kind of like are always dee, 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 dee. And I'll give you a good example. I'll tell the story of my wife. She tells it on herself, so it's all good. You know, so we were living in Nicaragua, and you would go to park a car. You go to a restaurant, you go to the grocery store, and there's guys with whistles and, you know, vests, whatever, yellow vests and orange vests, whatever, and they're whistling and waving and telling you how to park. And the reality is none of those guys have ever driven a car in their life, right? So, like, no, yeah, right. They're just, yeah, right. But they're telling you how to park your car. Now, my wife, she's driven, you know, a million miles in her life, and she's like, get out of my way, and, you know, whatever. And so her joke was, when she was ready to run them over, it was time to go back to the States for a vacation. And so, you know, a couple of times a year, like, you know, her level of culture shock frustration was high enough. She was like, yeah, we got to get out of here. I'm ready to run these guys over. So, you know, I think my experience has been that it's ankle biters, except for one big thing, Marcus. And this one is powerful. It's the one thing that I have watched people come down to Central America. I do all my work in Central America, but it holds true in the developing world anywhere. You've got poverty up close to you. And if seeing poverty rips your heart out every time you see it, you are not going to be happy. And I made a very conscious decision. I said, I'm not going to give anyone a penny. I made a logical decision. It was a decision. Not giving anyone a penny. Now, I joined the Rotary Club. I worked with a ton of faith-based organizations. We still do a lot of that. We still work with the Wheelchair Foundation. You know, we've handed out 1,000 wheelchairs to people who never were able to leave their homes because the families would literally have to carry. They didn't have a wheelchair. They'd have to carry them outside and bring them back in, or not, actually, in a lot of cases. So I made my accommodations with the poverty to say, you know what, I'm going to make my difference these ways. But when some kid comes up and begs, I'm like, hey, I give him a smile. Like, I'll smile at him, you know, nice day, buen dia, whatever. But I don't give him any money because I've already made the mental decision I'm not going to, right? So it doesn't tug at my heart at all. But that one thing, like, I've seen people come down and you'll see poverty up close to just everything. And if that rips your heart out, that's a very emotional thing. That will, you know, send you home, so to speak. But other than that, it's mostly just ankle biters. But that's a big one, and that's an important one. It's one of the reasons we counsel people, and in fact, it's in the book. And I give a lot of presentations, and I just finished one today for a virtual seminar I'm giving in a couple weeks. And one of the elements is plug into Rotary, faith-based organizations, beach cleanups, you know, whatever it is, plug into these organizations, because you'll get two things, Marcus. One, you'll get community. You'll be working alongside people who share similar values. One of them was this dog rescue thing, and I thought it was cute. We have a couple dogs, and I like dogs, but I probably wouldn't volunteer to do it. But a lot of people, like, that's their thing. Animals are really their thing, right? And so if you go volunteer at the dog shelter, you're going to be working alongside other people who care about dogs and animals the same way you do, right? Or if it's Rotary, if it's the Wheelchair Foundation, or whatever it might be. And so you do that for the community piece because you're going to build friends, make new networks. But the other side of it is you'll be doing something wonderful in the country or the region of the country where you are. And if that gives you the uplifted spirit that you need to be able to see the poverty and be around the poverty, then it's wonderful. It's awesome, and I find that works for most people, but not everybody. So
Absolutely. That's fair. I want to pivot to where you at, because you said something very profound. $1,500 a month for our audio listeners that can't see the screen. I have to say this: $1,500 a month times 12 months. That's $18,000 annually. And so
yeah.
$18,000, you can live comfortably. Can you share your definition, because comfortably can be vary from person to person.
Yeah,
What's
sure.
comfortable to you, right?
Yeah.
On $1,500. What does that mean
Yeah.
to you?
So I kind of think of, I mean, it depends on where you're going, but let me pick Panama, for example, right? Or Nicaragua, but Costa Rica is not. But Nicaragua and Panama are very similar. If you live outside the city center, right, in a smaller town, I would say a town of, 10, 15, 20,000 people. So it's still big enough that you have supermarkets and banks and everything you need, right? But it's not the major metropolitan area. You can rent a home for 350, 400, $450 a month. Um, you don't use much in the way of utilities because it's never cold in the tropics. Sometimes it's hot, but what we found was we used fans. We had an air conditioner in our bedroom. It was a split unit. It's like a window unit, but it's in the wall, but it's a split, right? But it's for the room only.
It's not central, not central air.
Not central, right? Because look, we got up in the morning, we opened up all of our sliding glass doors, and we just let the wind blow through our house, and it was comfortable. Like at night, sometimes if it was maybe 90 and humid, we turn on the air conditioner, but actually we use ceiling fans and stand fans. Fans use almost no electricity, so you don't really have heating or cooling. Cooking is usually done with gas. You can go to the fancy. I mean, if you want to go to the fancy grocery store and buy Cheerios, it's 6, 7, $8 a box. On the other hand, if you want to go and get rice and
Fresh
eggs and
ingredients.
bread and right, I mean, and by the way, this is what's crazy. Like organic, we had a coffee sack, like a coffee sack of organic fruits and vegetables delivered. You're gonna love this. Delivered to our home every Tuesday for $8, Marcus. Like we couldn't
Mm,
eat it all. We couldn't eat it all. If you
that's
go
too
down to
much.
go down to whole paycheck and buy a tomato, it's $8, right? You know, Whole Foods, I call it
Right,
whole paycheck. you know,
right,
yeah,
right,
right,
right.
right. No. But so if you want Cheerios and Ragu and like American products, you'll pay more. But if you want organic fruits and vegetables, if you want a dozen eggs, if you want cheese from the farmer or the farmer's market, right? That's why I'm saying these little towns of 5 to 20,000 are perfect because you got these little markets. You got farmers coming in. If you're by the ocean, the fish is fresh. If we're up in the mountains, the beef and chicken, the pork is fresh, right? It's so inexpensive. So if you cook your own stuff and you're not trying to buy boxed stuff from the US, your actual cost to eat organic, hormone free range meats is actually about a third to a half of, or less, third less or half of what it costs in the US. So your food costs actually drop. Medical care is excellent. I go get my teeth cleaned. I still get my teeth cleaned when I'm down in the region. It's $50. I get my teeth cleaned. It's less than my copay. I walk in, I get my teeth cleaned. If I need
That's
something done,
that's insurance or no? That's
no.
cash
That's
out the door.
just walk in, pay, get my teeth cleaned. 50
50
bucks.
bucks.
50 bucks. I had 3 fillings put in the last time I was there. Anyway, I didn't didn't like that very much. And I think the total bill was 120 something. I call it 130 bucks. It was less than 150 bucks to have
What?
three fillings and a cleaning. Less than 150 bucks, 130 bucks. And right, going to the doctor and x-ray is, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks. And yeah. And they read it right there. You don't have to wait. I mean,
So
like you go read it, you hand carry it right back to the doctor. They look at it, they tell you what's wrong, they send you off to the drugstore to get whatever it is, or whatever. I mean, like medical care is excellent and highly affordable. And the other thing I recommend, there's a saying, I mean, people like this, I don't recommend going naked, which is what which is no insurance, right? No insurance. But if you're an expat, you can buy an expat insurance policy, and it's so much less than the US. And so and generally what I recommend if you're living overseas, and it only works if you are, but if you're living in a developing country, is take a very high deductible. Take like a $5,000 deductible, right? I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it is, right? But if you buy the expat insurance policies with a $5,000 deductible, the premium you pay is really low. And so now you hurt yourself, you finally break your arm, go get an x-ray, get it cast. Oh, it's 100, 150 bucks. Okay, bye, right? It'd be less than your copay anyway, right? What you want the insurance for is if you get hit by a bus or you get cancer or something horrible, like you need to be able to get treated. And the beautiful thing about these expat policies are they cover you back in the States, right? So let's say you get hit by a bus, right? Or you get cancer, you can come back to the States, you can do your medical treatment in the States with this expat insurance policy, right? But when you're in the local, in the local area, most of the time you just, paying, you're never going to hit your deductible. So you just pay out of pocket. So it's very, very affordable and it's excellent medical care. And I use the word care precisely because it's
Mhm.
truly care. I'm not taking anything away from U.S. Medical professionals. In fact, I actually feel slightly sorry for them. They have such a crazy schedule. They're trying to deal with hospitals and billing and insurance and administrative, and it's just not all the paperwork, all the stuff that has nothing to do with actual health care is so overwhelming in the healthcare field these days that the professionals have very little time to actually care for you. Overseas, it really is the opposite. There's no nonsense. I mean, just like, yeah, get out your credit card. Oh, boom, there you get paid, right? Like there's no paperwork per se. And it's not uncommon for the doctor to actually give you their cell phone number. Hey, call me tomorrow morning. Let me know if you're okay. Okay. I mean, like it's just this incredibly wonderful system. But coming back to your question, $1,500 a month. Yeah, I mean, like $1,500 a month, you're gonna live really well. You're gonna eat well. Yeah, you're gonna have a nice life at $1,500 a month.
I have that right now in my back pocket. I so I need forgive me. Did you touch on prescriptions?
Yeah.
Uh maybe
The the
uh
only the only thing you need a prescription for in Central America generally are things with opioids, right? Like you don't actually need a prescription for almost any other drug. So if you know what you're taking, you can just go buy it, right? If you need opiates, you have to get a prescription, right? They
right.
don't just throw those across the counter at you. But pretty much anything else, yeah,
What about comforts? What about comforts? A cleaner. Can I have a cleaner on
yeah,
in Costa
yeah,
Rica? Is that affordable? Can I have a housemaid, a nanny,
yep.
uh any of those things affordable?
Yeah. I mean, so when we lived in Nicaragua, we had a full-time maid, which was more than we needed, really. But whatever, she liked it, and we paid her just under $200 a month for a full-time maid. Yeah, exactly, Marcus, exactly. The numbers are a little higher now. You might be at 225 for a full-time maid. But what a lot of people do if they're, especially if they're in that $1,500 a month, you share the maid with maybe two or three other people, and you each pay $50 a month, and she comes by, whatever, 3 days a week for half a day, cleans up, does the laundry, cleans the bathrooms, does whatever. I mean, we never had our maids cook, right? We did our own cooking, but maids
Okay.
will cook. Yeah, a full-time maid is probably, two to 250. Generally, handyman, we had a part-time handyman that kind of worked the neighborhood, and I think we were paying him 50, $75 a month, for mowing the lawn or doing whatever he did, right? But it's, yeah, but help is incredibly affordable. Yeah, incredibly affordable. And what we don't realize as North Americans is what having a maid means, right? Because we didn't, I'd never had a maid, whatever, right? And so
Right.
what it meant, having a maid and like the gardener guy that just take care of stuff around the house, the yard, was we had all kinds of free time. We had this quality time as a family. So when, after dinner, we'd rinse the plates, right? And we'd set them in the sink. We didn't have laundry to do. We didn't have to clean the house. So like we as the family, we had two daughters, have two daughters, and so we'd say, oh, let's go out and jump on the trampoline, or let's go play a game, or let's take a walk, or whatever. And then on the weekends, we like, what do you want to do this weekend? Oh, let's go to the beach, the baby turtles, or let's go up to the mountains to the cloud forest, or whatever. I mean, so you just had this incredible extra free time that wasn't taken up by chores. And the other thing is you're creating employment in an area that doesn't have a safety net, right? There is no welfare system to speak of, right? So if these folks aren't employed, then they're not earning, right? And usually what you see is family income. You have husband, wife, a couple kids, son-in-law, daughter-in-laws, and they're all contributing to the family pot, right? But yeah, I mean, you're creating employment, and so we get the gift of free time, quality time. They get the gift of employment. It's really a win-win.
The even trade. Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Yep.
So that $300 to $400 a month gets me how many square foot?
In a rental, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Typically, that'd be a small apartment, maybe 300 to 500 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom, 1 bath.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the other question is safety. How safe do you feel, you and your family? How safe, besides the law enforcement guy she wants to run over, how safe do you and your
No, he's
family
not
feel?
law enforcement. He's just a guy wearing a vest.
Oh, he's not okay. He's not even
No,
okay.
no. These are like parking attendants in the parking lots. Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to. It's not law enforcement. My wife was never going to run over a law enforcement.
Sorry.
But that's okay. I'm glad you clarified it. You know, Safety is a great question. I get that question all the time, and here's my answer. Crime and safety is largely geographic and behavioral, right? And let me start with behavioral because it kind of leads to the geographic, right? If you're out looking for drugs or crazy activities at 4 a.m, like you're putting yourself in danger, right? You're putting yourself in a situation that might not be good. I mean, guys that sell drugs, they probably carry guns and knives, and if you don't pay them enough, or even if you do, they might kill you or stab you or do whatever, beat you up, right? So the behavior element is huge. The other thing is then you're probably in a neighborhood that's probably less safe than other neighborhoods, and so behavior, the graph element. And so when you take behavior and geography and you set them aside and you say, well, can I live in Panama safely, or did my family live in Nicaragua safely? Yeah, 14 years. I was pretty much home in bed 10 o'clock every night, and so was my family, and I wasn't out looking for drugs at 4 a.m. And in 14 years, we never had a single incident of crime wise. And so, I think that the behavior element lends itself to the geography element. And the other thing I would say is if you just simply hook, and if you just say, I'm gonna pick on Chicago. Chicago's dangerous, right? Well,
Right.
maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Like if you took 5 zip codes out of Chicago and said, well, let's take those 5 zip codes, the statistics of them out. Is Chicago dangerous? Probably not. I'm making up a number. I don't know what it is, right? But that's the same thing really everywhere in the world. Crime is local generally. Can lightning strike? Absolutely. Lightning can strike anywhere, anytime. It just doesn't very often. And so if you live right, you live clean, and you use just basic common sense, you can have a very safe, peaceful, wonderful life overseas without any real worry of anything happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. I love
Yeah.
this.
Good.
This is what we
Me too.
need.
These are great questions, Marcus.
This is the right time, Mr. Cobb. You are on you are the right time, the man at the right time. I want to dive into, do you give recommendations on should someone learn the local dialect, or is there enough English translators, or are there enough locals that know English for me to be comfortable while I learn the landscape and figure out the terminologies and the common everyday, like, hey, where's the bus, where's the restaurant, where's the
Yeah.
bank?
Yep.
What do you recommend in the book?
I do recommend people learn enough language to get by and get around. However, that is an absolute clear case of do what I say, not what I do, and I'll be the first to admit it. I I really did not learn Spanish very well at all. I traveled, by the way, you talk about safety. We lived in Nicaragua. We lived in Managua, Nicaragua. Ooh, Managua, dangerous place, right? Anyway, I traveled 2 to 3 weeks a month with my wife and 2 daughters in Nicaragua, and really never worried a stitch about them. So, the problem for me is I just never was around long enough to really immerse and learn Spanish. And when I moved to Nicaragua for business reasons. I spoke no Spanish, and because I spoke no Spanish and had a business to run, I hired an entirely bilingual team of folks. And so we spoke English at the office. I spoke English at home generally, and then I was on the road 2-3 weeks a month speaking English everywhere. So I never really learned Spanish very well at all. My daughters are bilingual, bicultural. My wife is fully, yes, my wife is fully bilingual. I'm the I'm the sorry sack of the family.
No, but no, you did what every entrepreneur does, is find a workaround. So your
Yeah,
team
absolutely.
are bilingual American or bilingual local in Nicaragua? Where did
So
you
there,
source your team from?
all Nicaraguan. Well, in
Okay.
Nicaragua, we have projects in Belize, Panama, and Costa Rica, and we have Panamanian, Belizean, and Costa Rican employees in those countries. But in Nicaragua, yeah, in fact, the vast majority of our employees are local to the country where we have our communities. We build residential resort communities, so our teams are almost all local in the local place. And then even a lot of our admin folks and executives. I mean, our controller is Argentinian. Our business intelligence guy is Mexican. We've got some people in Portugal that handle marketing. That's kind of on the other side. But so we're a very, very international company with very few Americans actually in the company. I bet the Americans in the company are 5%, and not 10. They're not 10% of the company. I'm sure of that. So yeah.
Absolutely. So we're hiring local, y'all. He's hiring
Yep.
local. He's supporting the
Yep.
local economics. It's not just, you know, come in and take over. He's supporting the economics of wherever he invests and wherever his family is. So that's
Yeah.
huge. That's
And
huge.
and and Marcus, let me just add one layer to that. And creating something that is inherently sustainable, right?
Yes.
I mean, when you build a resort community, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like people are still going to be coming on vacation. People who live and a lot of it's residential, so people still live there. They're still going to hire their maids and their gardeners. They're still going to be going to the grocery store, and so we've created this incredibly sustainable economic engine as well. And that's wonderful because I am going to kick the bucket at some point, and it's nice to know that what we've created will continue on for many generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want you here for many, 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 many moons to
Thank you.
come. So this is
Mm.
long time, y'all.
There
Don't
you go.
yeah,
I like
long
that.
time
Yeah.
planning. This is forward thinking. We're dealing with an entrepreneur, a gentleman here. So very forward thinking. Money. Any tips on money? Should I convert most of my money before I come there, or
No.
are the banking systems should I just set up my direct deposit of the $1,500 every month to just go into a local bank and just pull it out in the local currency? What's
Yeah.
some thoughts or strategies there?
Great question. There was a couple that came to Nicaragua. I knew them for Jack and Margaret. That's first names are fine. Jack and Margaret. They lived in Nicaragua for 8 years and never had a Nicaraguan bank account. They went to an ATM machine. I don't know, 4 or 5 days before their rent was due each day and pulled out whatever it was to pay their rent in cash. But pretty much everything else they could pay on a U.S. credit card, which they did. So they never ever had a Nicaraguan bank account, and I do. I think it's important. I think it's, but I would definitely not be moving very much money in there. I would leave most of my money in a U.S. bank account. Have a U.S. credit card. There are some credit cards that do much better on foreign transaction fees, and I can't remember which one it is, but you can look online, and there's definitely one to do that. The other thing to remember is kind of a crazy little thing, but torn bills. If you get a tiny little rip in a bill, or if there's a little mark on the bill or anything, they won't take it. And so it was kind of a running joke in the family. Like we'd go somewhere to the bank and they'd give us a bunch of bills, and they'd give us, ratty bills that nobody would take, of course. So whenever we came to the States, we would bring our ratty 20s to spend.
Mm,
Whatever, doesn't matter. Small bills, fives, tens, 20s, because again, that's a lot of money, and so not a lot of things that you're going to actually pay cash for cost very much money. But like you can buy a Snickers bar for 35 cents with your credit card. Like, so almost everybody's taking credit cards now. And
It's not hurting.
but cash. Make sure you have good crisp bills. Even the ones, fives, tens, 20s, they need to be good, new, crisp. It's probably more important if you're traveling there as opposed to living there. But that's just a kind of a rule of thumb.
How do you guys get around? Taxi, Uber? Is Uber developed over there, or any
Yeah.
other Belize? How do you guys get around mostly?
I was just in Panama last week, and I use Uber there almost exclusively. Very, very affordable. I think it was 21, $22 from the airport. Around town, $5 to $7. Nicaragua, I generally use taxis. In Belize, on the island of Ambergris Key where we're working, it's golf cart. I walk. Actually, I walk a lot because we're close to town. I can do my stuff by walking. But people either get a golf cart or bicycle. A lot of people bike on Ambergris Key. So generally, depending on where you're living and what the local surrounds are, would dictate your mode of transportation. Not, I have to say, some people talk about taking the bus, and we took the bus sometimes, but not very often. Public transportation can be very, very crowded. And they say there are pickpockets. It never happened to us, but I don't know. It's very, very crowded. And generally, I think we said for the few bucks, we'll just take a taxi or an Uber, or even hiring a car with a driver. Because again, it's so inexpensive. You can rent a car from Alamo or whatever national, and get a driver, and the driver's whatever, $30 a day, and you're just like, okay, I can afford $30 to have somebody drive, right? And it's nice.
I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take two.
Right.
That's an easy
Yeah.
breezy. Wow. I wanna dive into the real estate investing.
Okay.
Your other expertise. How can people invest? How are you helping real estate investors who are, maybe they want a summer home, maybe they want
Mhm.
to do some vacation rentals overseas, or they want
Yep.
to own some rental property that they lease out to the local community at affordable price? Can you speak to the real estate investors in the audience? Tips and strategies, tips from the book, why they should get the book.
Yeah. Look, the book, I mean, is just really simple. This sentence right here, and get it right, get it right the first time. That's really fundamentally the way you win, right? If you don't get it right the first time, fixing it and whatever, I mean, it can eat you up. I think that's probably true in the States too. The challenge when we go overseas is, we're moving from, especially in the United States, Canada, right? We're moving from a world of seller beware, right? You've got lemon laws on cars, you've got regulatory bodies, you've got oversight boards for HOAs, you got all kinds of this regulatory, government, consumer advocacy groups looking out for you, right? And so we've really been lulled into this false sense of security. Like, I can just transact because if something goes wrong, I'm going to sue somebody. Well, in the States and in Canada, that's true, and you might actually win if they defrauded you in any way, right? But overseas, we're actually in the land of buyer beware, right? And we don't really, as U.S. consumers, know how to transact in a buyer beware environment. So the biggest part of my book, in fact, I would say the first half of my book, is really about 30 questions that we should be asking when we buy property overseas that we just simply wouldn't normally think to ask if we were buying something in the States. I just give a couple quick examples. Is there zoning, for example? Is there any zoning, right? Because, in the U.S., I think pretty comfortable to say, well, there is zoning, right? If I buy this beautiful lot right here, and people on either side of me, they're going to build houses too, and there's probably maybe even square footages, I don't know, whatever it is, right? But the guy on the left side could put in a pig farm, and the guy on the right side could put in a 6-story pink lighthouse and turn it into an after-hours disco bar that opens up at 11:30 every night. And you just be like, well, you can't do that.
Right.
Why not? They own the dirt. They can do whatever they want, right? So,
Um,
yeah, zoning. Like, so understand if there's zoning. And if there's zoning, who enforces it? But many places there just simply is no zoning. And so whoever owns the dirt can do with it whatever they want. It's their dirt, right? And right. So that's an assumption, right? That's one of the assumptions that we bring with us. Like, oh, there must be zoning, and nope, there isn't. So, okay. So what questions do we ask? And the book talks about that. Like I said, the first half of the book is really about this getting it right, these questions that we should be asking, because we don't even know the right questions, right? We don't know what we don't know. And I'll give you another one. Like, is the house or condominium plumbed for hot water in all the bathrooms? Right. And you might say to yourself, yeah, duh, of course it is. I saw a hot water heater over in the garage. Right. It goes to one bathroom. It goes to the master bathroom. It doesn't go to the guest bathrooms. It doesn't go to your kitchen sink. Right. And right. And yeah, no, this is, I mean, this is normal. Like, why do you need hot water? You spoiled American, like, you don't need hot water. Who needs hot water, right? Anyway, so, right. And what you'll see, no, and hang on, let's see if I can quickly find the picture. I mean, this is one of those, just one of these pictures that's just so like, oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to see if I can, okay. Right there. Out of the wall. That's a cold water pipe coming out of the wall so that both of the faucets up on top have water coming out of them, but they're both cold, right? You turn the right one on, water comes out. Turn the left one on, water comes out, but it's cold water. And the showers are cold water. So what we don't know as a U.S. consumer is that we actually have to get down on our hands and knees and look under the sink, right, to see if there's two pipes coming out of the wall, one hot, one cold, right? Why would we ever think to do that as a consumer? We wouldn't. Most of us wouldn't. Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff. Right. I wouldn't have either 33 years ago, right? But now I know. Right. Yeah, right. I've taken a lot of cold showers over the years in people's houses or condos that I'm staying in, right? Because there just isn't hot water. Right? It's just not a thing. So anyway, and that one, who cares? I mean, we all care a little bit, but here's one more, right? One more, and this is a big one. The zoning one's a solid inconvenience. The cold water, depending, could be an inconvenience, a minor inconvenience. But here's a horrible one, and this is an assumption, right? In the U.S., and you're in Norfolk, you said Tidewater area, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yes, sir. You got the Army Corps of Engineers. You've got the city of Norfolk. You got the county. I don't know what your county is down there, right? And then you got the state of Virginia, right? So you've got this layering of organizations that look at a development. So a developer comes and says, I want to build 50 homes. Great. They put in stormwater engineering plan. First thing they do is lay out the topography, and they say, you know what? We look at our rainfall data. Blah, 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 blah. We look at this. We say, okay, all this rain's coming down. We're going to have all these hard surfaces. Where's the water going to go? Oh, we're going to need pipes this big. We're going to need pipes this big. We're going to need pipes this big. We're going to run it over here. We're going to do this. They submit it to the Army Corps, the county, the state, the city, whoever they send it to. And some really smart engineer at the officialdom says, yep, this works, or no, it doesn't. We're going to move it, blah, blah. Okay, great. In the U.S., we can make that assumption perfectly. In Latin America, there is no Army Corps of Engineer. There is nobody looking at stormwater engineering plans. And so if we, the consumer, don't ask a developer to see their stormwater engineering plans, like, because in the tropics especially, it rains a lot fast. It can rain 3-4 inches in 3-4 hours, right? That's a lot of water coming down all at once. If that water has not been engineered and the pipes have not been put in the ground, that water is just simply going to go where God wants it to go. And that may or may not be good for your property. And there are so many horror stories, Marcus, of people who bought a home, okay, where literally half their yard gets washed away, or the foundation of their house and houses collapse. I mean, like, it's horrible video. I really wish I would have had the presence of mind to screen capture the video of a whole condominium building in Costa Rica falling into a river. They had it actually on video, and I didn't have the presence of mind to capture it at the time, and it's been taken down. But we, the consumer, are responsible for asking the developer, please show me your stormwater engineering plans. And if we believe them and we look at it and we think, well, that looks okay. I mean, like, I'm not an engineer, but if we have any kind of something's not ringing right here, You need to hire your own engineer to come look at the plans and go, yep, they work, or I don't know what this garbage is, right? Again,
Right.
buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Everywhere.
And and a lot of times people go, Mike, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I would, you've convinced me not to do it. Like, I hope I have not convinced anyone not to do it. I just hope I've convinced everyone to proceed with caution, proceed with humility. My book is free, by the way. It's 99 cents. My book is 99 cents. But Marcus,
That's
if
free.
anybody, if anybody wants a copy of the book and they send an email to book, I'll give them a code on Amazon and they can download it for free. They can have my book for free, because what I really want is people to transact overseas and get what they're paying for, get what they hope for, get the lifestyle that they want, and in many cases actually need, coming all the way back to those, $1,500, $1,800 Social Security folks, right? I don't know what kind of life you can have on $1,500 a month in the US. A tough one, a tight one. Maybe it's
A
not
very
tough, but it's tight,
a
right? It's tight,
non-existent one. A
right?
non-existent. Say that again. Send an email.
Yeah. Oh yeah, to book at ecidevelopment.com. And
Oh
if
my.
and I'll send you a code to Amazon, and the book's free. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
What about the so you're investing in real estate. You and your
Yeah.
family, you and your team are investing in real estate.
Yep.
How can an investor reach out to your company and just say, hey, build me, build me some rental properties again, or
Yeah.
build my home for me? What's the avenue for that? Because you already did the blueprint.
Absolutely. Look, right now, look, I love Nicaragua as a place to live. If somebody said I'm looking for a very inexpensive place to live, I would suggest Nicaragua or Panama. If somebody says I'm interested in an investment property, I want something that's going to cash flow for me. Belize, by far, is the best cash flow investment opportunity in Central America today. And depends on the amount of money somebody has to make the investment, right? We're actually building all the things that, 33 years of doing business, right? Having watched this country move into this position, I call it the sweet spot of the development curve. It's there, and so truly, people ask me, I'll tell you, you ask, the best investment in Central America today is a Marriott studio residence on Ambergris Key, the one we're building. It is by far the best cash flow investment out there. Now it's a big bite. It's 300. Well, it's about 400 when you include furniture and closing costs. It's 350 plus, right? Call it 400, right? It's a big bite. 400 grand's a lot of money, right? But if somebody has $400,000 that they're looking to do something with and diversify internationally, that one will be a solid grand slam. It's not a home run; it's a grand slam. We have product at $150,000, about 3 blocks off the water, that are also a tremendous opportunity, much smaller bite. But can I throw just this crazy wild card at you, Marcus? That
Please.
this one is the wild card of wild cards, and people shake their heads at me. Back in 1998, I bought a 100-acre cattle pasture in Panama, and I planted the following year 100 acres of teak trees. And those teak trees are now 26 years old, and we're getting ready to harvest them and put them. We just built a sawmill over the last 18 months. We built a sawmill. We're going to harvest them starting in December. We're going to run them through the sawmill, and then we're going to replant. The 100 acres are going to get replanted. We've literally helped a few thousand people now become teak owners, teak plantation owners, and the concept. It's an investment that's really affordable. Basically, it's $1,500 down and $268 a month for 3 years, right? So 36 payments of $268 and $1,500 down. It's about 11 grand, and 11 grand over 25 years. This is the part that scares people away, by the way. 25 years. Like, yeah, 25 years. Like, I hope I live another 25. I hope my kids live another 50. That's 2 harvests, right? This particular investment, for someone who says, you know what, I got $1,500, I got $268 a month, I want to own a 1/4 acre of teak, and that $11,000 investment, again, it's the future, who knows, but should be worth north of 100 grand in 25 years, right? I mean, and that's why I did it. And we're cutting the trees down, and my girls are, we had some business partners in it too, but my girls are gonna love it. And so we've helped a couple thousand people now own teak, for mostly for generational wealth stewardship, right? If they're young enough like you say, well, I'm going to get the first harvest, right? I saw when you did your intro, you got a little baby boy there. I don't know if he's still a baby or not, but I saw the picture. And but a lot of people are doing this now, because they say, well, you know what? I'm going to live for 25. I'd love to get 100 grand in 25 years. But then you replant the trees, and in 25 more years, the kid or the grandkid gets it, and then you plant it again. And in 25 more years, the next generation gets it. This is a powerful generational wealth stewardship tool. Up and until recently, only the uber wealthy, like the billionaires, right, the the Malones and the Ted Turners, they could afford $1 million in a forestry plantation, right? Most of us couldn't, but we really engineered a way to acquire property in Panama, break it up into 1/4 acre parcels, have it planted, have it professionally managed. By the way, we outsource it to a forestry company. They manage it. They've managed our plantation now for 27 years. So they helped us buy the property. They cleared it. They planted the trees, and the trees are 26 years old. And so, professional management, legacy management, but then also creating this generational wealth that will transact every 25 years into the future. This one, it's like I said, it's a wild card, but it's something that really almost everyone can do. And we've been able to make it affordable and accessible, make timber investment accessible and affordable to the average investor. Whereas before, it was only the uber wealthy, or Harvard, or the big endowments and stuff like that. They could do it, but you and I couldn't, and we figured out a way to do that.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask, you said to the average investor, are you dealing with accredited investors or non-accredited investors, or both?
On the larger bites like the Marriott, yeah, you've got to be an accredited investor. I mean, that's 400,000. On the $100,000 investment, because you're buying property, so it's not you're not really in buying shares. You're buying a condo, and then you can rent it yourself. You can put it in our rental program. You can put it in a long-term rental. You can lock it and use it. I mean, it's yours. You own it, right? So there's really no issue there. And then on the teak, the same thing. You actually own the land. You own the land. You own the trees. If you want them harvested, we'll harvest them for you. If you say nope, just let them grow, I just want to let it keep going, that's fine too. They're your trees, right? So we don't get into the issues of securities and things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. This makes absolute sense. So it's powerful. So you got something for accredited, you got something for the average person, and
Yep.
then absolutely this is huge.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we have a great team of people, and we've been doing it a long time. Our development company's 29 years old this year, and we really have a really wonderful group of folks who get the job out, and that's what it is, right? It's just every day blocking and tackling, and the people, to really make it happen.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
is needed, and this is necessary for people who are looking for a place, what to do with their money, where to invest their money. And this is a
Yep.
huge alternative investment. Had the pleasure of interviewing another lady who's also doing, her name is Evie Brooks. She's a part of the Rich Dad Poor Dad, or used to be Rich Dad Poor
Okay.
Dad. And she, again, same thing, recommends investing in Panama and
Yep.
overseas. So you are furthering that
Uh,
it's still doing well after
It is, and
COVID-19. It's
I
still an
and I
investment
know
out
Evie.
there.
I know Evie. I spoke alongside her at many conferences over the years. So yeah,
I had her on the
a
show
small
twice.
world.
She's amazing.
She's dynamic, isn't she? Yeah.
She's absolutely incredible, and you're incredible
Yep.
for this.
Thank you.
Sir, I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge. Are there questions that I should have asked you that you wanted me to ask you, but I just
Mm.
missed the mark? What would you like to say to the young man, the young family out there who is considering investing with you? What tips, you know, because again, COVID-19 shocked the world.
Yes.
And again, when I interviewed Miss Evie Brooks, it was before the pandemic. Is it
Okay.
still beneficial to invest in Latin America today? Are your investors? I mean, you have the crops, you're harvesting the crops, and
Yep.
so you're expecting the returns on that. But even in the real estate side, is it still doing pretty good out there?
It is. Look, I think two things. One, um, just from I'm just call it a baseline perspective.
Sure.
If we have all of our eggs in one basket, all of our investment eggs in one basket, the U.S. basket, right? I think there's inherent danger in that, right? Because the diversification is absolutely fundamentally a powerful risk reduction element in any investment portfolio. And I know a lot of times people say, "Oh, I got BMW, Nestle, and Toyota stock. I'm diversified internationally." Well, but they're all on the New York Stock Exchange. So you're really not diversified internationally, right? You got exposure to other stocks in other countries, but you're still all your eggs in one basket. And I again, I'm not an investment advisor, and this is not investment advice, but I personally struggle to keep a third of my investments in the US. Two-thirds of my investments are outside the US. I'm not recommending that to anyone, right? They're active businesses. I run them. They're mine, right? Well, they're mine and other people's, but I'm just saying, like, it's my businesses, right? But some percentage, pick a number, 1%, 5%, 10%, I don't know, pick a small number, right? But some small percent of our investable assets should be outside our home country. And if you say, "Oh, Central America is way too dangerous," fine, go buy a condo in Canada. I mean, whatever, right? I mean, if Central America scares you, go to Canada, right? Something outside your home country is so fundamentally important. Let's come back to COVID for just a second, and now why I actually we're seeing, and it's not just the industry is seeing an incredible shift and a lot more interest in overseas. When people were freed to work from home, home could be anywhere, awesome, as long as they had internet and phone, right? And what really changed, Marcus, were the management philosophies, right? You had this Frederick industrial management model developed for Henry Ford back in the early 1900s, right? And so you had this industrial management model overlaid on top of a post-industrial technological ability, and so it was kind of clunking along, and you had people on the phone all day doing this all day on their computer, but they had to do it in an office so the boss could watch them, because like if they weren't at the office, they were probably watching Game of Thrones all day, not working or something, right? You like that? Yeah, yeah. So right. So all of a sudden, COVID, or it was really the government's response to COVID: stay home, right? Stay home, right? Managers and companies had to figure out how to manage in a post-industrial society, and it was a big shock. And it's still the shock waves are still reverberating. They're trying to call people back, and a lot of young people are saying, "No, I'm not coming back." Right? Some are, I get it, but many aren't. And so you've got these big office buildings that are vacant, and by the way, there's a place where I think having some money outside the US, especially in hard assets, is good. I mean, I say somebody's kicking the can down the road on all these giant office buildings where these tenants are only picking up half and two-thirds of the lease they used to have. I don't know where the rest of that's coming from, right? So there's maybe some reckoning coming on the commercial real estate at some point. I know they're trying to do conversions, and I actually think that's wonderful. If you can convert office buildings into residential in New York City and provide more housing, that's great. But there's a lot to convert, and there's a lot happening. So, but the bottom line is, now that people have the ability to work from home, and home can be anywhere where the internet's really good, more and more people are looking at that as an option. And it's not just the young people, by the way. It's people in my age. I'm 61, right? If I was going to retire and I
You
was
look
had a
good.
job. Yeah, thank you. I feel good. And if I had a job in the U.S. and I thought, I can't wait till I retire 5 years from now, 8 years from now, I'm going to move to Belize because I want to go fly fishing every day or whatever it is, right? Um, for many people my age, we don't have to wait anymore. We have a job that's mostly this or this, and we can move to Belize next week and we can start fly fishing every morning from 5 till 8, and we get on the phone, or we can go fly fishing on the weekend, whatever it is, right? And so we're seeing not just that younger millennial set, which is stereotypically who we see as digital nomads, and I think there's a reason stereotypically, because they are, right? But this older segment, this pre-retiree who are saying, I don't have to wait to retire. I can move now because my job is the kind that lets me do that. And I can start to enjoy the lifestyle I thought I had to wait 5, 8, 10 more years to enjoy. I can start enjoying that right now while I continue to work my profession. This piece is the piece that's super dynamic, because people in their 50s and 60s, they have the money to buy real estate. The millennials, the guys, guys and girls, whatever, 28 to 40, whatever that that millennial set is, some of them have money. The older ones have money, but a lot of them don't. But what they're doing, which is interesting because it goes all the way back to the question you asked me a moment ago about investment properties, they rent. A 33-year-old digital nomad doesn't have the money to buy a $150,000 condo in Belize. But you know what?
Correct.
They got $850 a month to rent it, because they're pulling down $4,000 a month on their computer job, right? So they pay $850 for an apartment per month. And what's that yield? And you spend 150, you get 850. That's 9-10 grand. 10 grand on 150, 7% return. Like, I mean, look, that's not a grand slam. It might not even be a home run, but that's a solid double in today's world. If you can pick up 7-8%, on a long-term rental like that, that's nice. And you own the condo as an investor, right? And you get all the appreciation of the asset as well. But you're serving that millennial, that digital nomad who, wants to be there but can't afford to buy it, and they are renting. By the way, 85 million millennials, US and Canadian millennials, 45%. So that's close to half of 85 million millennials want to live and work overseas. So like we are just peeling the brown skin off the onion. We haven't even gotten to the onion yet. Like this revolution, this post-industrial revolution, is in its infancy. So to come all the way back again to your question, COVID actually did some incredibly wonderful things for the freedom of people to live and work outside the office. It did some horrible things too. It killed a lot of people, right? So that's a different thing, right? But at the end of the day, the silver lining, or the positive side of that, was it broke the old industrial management models, and is allowing new management models to emerge. There isn't any one, right? But there are many emerging at this point. And so we as investors, right, if we look to see how we can serve this new consumer, this digital nomad consumer, one of the ways we can serve them is with a product that they can afford to rent in really cool locations like Ambergris Caye, Belize, for example. So anyway, that kind of ties both of those together.
Thank you for that. That was you see the thought process, y'all. You see how he brings it all together. This has been an incredible conversation, an incredible, just informational topic. Mike, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
for what
Marcus.
you do. Thank you for giving back in this way. Thank you for educating people. And thank you for writing the book. Because this is what we need. You are what we need, and you're changing our trajectory for the better. So thank you. How can people connect? How can people learn more? Website, links, tell us. How can people find you?
Really easy. My direct email comes right to me. It's Mike.Cobb, Mike.Cobb, Mike.Cobb at ECIdevelopment.com. Reach out. Love to hear from you. If you want the book, you can just say link there, or you can do book at ECIdevelopment.com, and we'll get you the link to Amazon to get the book for free. If you're thinking about property overseas, love to have you have a copy of that. get it right the first time, become a tremendously happy international investor, whether it's with us, with anyone, it doesn't matter. I want as many happy international investors out there as possible. And if we can help folks achieve that, we will have done our job. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. This is incredible. Connect, y'all.
Yeah.
Send that email, reach out, get a copy of your book. That's what we're doing here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show.
Marcus,
yes, sir.
Send me your mailing address, because I'm going to mail you a copy of the book, personalized to you. And one of the pictures I saw at the opening credits was a woman in a wedding gown. So I assume you have a lovely bride. I'm going to include a chocolate bar for her. So make sure she gets it. Okay.
Yes,
on
sir.
On your honor.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen always. Gentlemen
there you go.
Always.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. This is fantastic. All right, y'all. Oh my gosh. This has been an incredible show. We have to let this incredible man go. He has many more lives to change, many more investors to help, and many more families to help expatriate and change their future for the better. So, like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite host, and the incredible Michael Cobb signing off. Love you guys. Bye.